Getting back to the final items on the chipper shredder rebuild, we need to put together the actual assembly here. And after the move, I have this tiny little space to work when it's too cold to work outside. So the biggest issue that we have is when it threw the blades, it did a number to this blade. Now, I could probably heat that up, pound that back, and it would probably be just fine. But it is also quite worn. Now, these are designed to be, you can flip them back for front, so you can use one side or the other as they get dulled before having to replace the blades. Now, here is one of the better blades that I have. Still not great, but better. It's still pretty heavy wear on the one side. I'll be flipping that to use the other side, even though it's missing a tooth. Now, this blade is the original, and this is what I was able to find as a replacement. Harbor Freight no longer makes these replacements. This was a steel Echo shredder. So 606.1 G3.
Yeah, nice.
So there's the numbers of what I was able to find as a near replacement. Now you can probably tell as we look at these, this has a larger hole than this. Also, kind of line that up, and I guess you can't quite see, but they don't quite match. The Echo one that I was able to find is just a little bit smaller in many regards. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to remount this, and then we'll put this in the center, and then hope that the overall mass that's reduced will not create a vibration. It's tiny. It's a little more than a 16th shorter width, and just a little bit shorter in length, because the originals have a full point, the Echoes have a flat point. These sharp points here are just prone to breaking. So in addition to that, this isn't super flat. That one's not too bad. Dull to this side, so we'll flip that. So that'll be the cutting side. Oh, there goes the light. And then here's the last one we have. Again, there's the heavy wear on the original cutting side before the break, and the side that we'll flip to for the cutting edge. So our biggest thing to be able to actually utilize this is needing to drill out that hole. Now, unfortunately, I do not have a drill press. I may have to go borrow a drill press, and we'll see from there. See if I have... let's see if that'll work. If all else fails, we'll try and re-straighten that. Want to avoid trying to do that if I can. Now, in addition to that, there are a bunch of little burrs and nicks all over the shaft here. And I'll have to double check, but I believe that one of the blade goes in there. We put the one there, put another blade here, and we'll have the final section of the washers. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1, 2, 3, and 4 is how the blades will be set up. And then that will all go in this opposite, just like this, for the various blades. And they spin out with centrifugal force, hit whatever it is. I'll need to shave down the backside of this because that's sticking over quite a bit and catching. So not too much to do to put that back together. So come back to in a bit. Alright, I've got my cheap set of Harbor Freight files. Let's get to work and get some of these little burrs off. Alright. A little bit of a burr still in there, but it has a lot of play over that, so no issues. Let's get the rest of these burrs on the shaft, the pin, rest of the burrs on this pin cleaned up. I'd turn this in a lathe if I had one. I'd mock it up in a drill press and do it that way if I had one of those. But I do not have either of those at the moment. Now, one thing to note, this pin, although it's locked here by an item that isn't allowed to slide, which is one of those retaining washers, spacers, it isn't retained at the ends so much, except for just barely sitting inside this 1/4-inch plate that this is made out of. Yeah. So it's somewhat allowed to freely spin once it's all assembled. I'm just filling with my fingers, trying to find those high spots that seem like they need to come down. Trying not to take off too much material. Now, when this got stalled, one of the blades, let's see, the blade here got caught on the frame. It twisted like this, and it popped it out of the actual center frame over here. So when we get this all assembled, we might have to clamp this back down to, because this pin's only so long. All right, I think that's good enough. We start with this pin. Oh, wait, nope, can't do that. This is the last item to go on. That's got to be free floating, and then we lock it in place at the very end. So we need to assemble it in here and hope that this hasn't spread out too much. So let's do a quick check. That is almost exactly where it belongs. Okay. So, in order, we need to put on a blade. Now the question is, which direction does this rotate? Because the direction that this rotates is going to define which direction we're going to put our blades in. One more item I realize I need to touch up. All the old blades, I need to knock off all the burrs that are at the edges that are sticking up, because all of those are going to interfere with how this is running as well. All right. I think that's good. Don't feel any burrs there. Now, the spin direction. Let's look at these blades here.
Yeah.
This side does not seem real worn. This side seems pretty heavily worn. So I believe it is rotating in this direction. Is that right? All right, let's double check something. So we put one of the blades on. I believe these go in this direction. That also needs to rotate in that direction. Okay. All right. We're rotating in this direction is our assumption for the moment. So I want to rotate, it's not the one we cleaned up. I want to rotate the blade so the sharper side is coming in this direction. So there's the first blade. Now we need the one with the hole in it. Second blade. Now we need... Oh, I wonder... We may need that reversed to have the pin over here. The other side has the pin on the opposite side. So let's start over. All right. We have a blade. We have the shortest washer. We have the next blade. We have the next washer. Now here is where we want to put in this. The unfortunate thing is, it's not quite going to fit over that hole. So we've got to fix that. All right. What I think I'm going to do, this is just a size too small. I've got a step drill bit. Since I don't have a drill press, I'm going to see if we can try and enlarge that to the next size opening. And the next opening here, if I can read it, is 9/16 is the next step on this step drill bit. So 9/16. That's going to be our goal. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to clamp this down on something and try and use my regular drill and see if that'll work. All right. So, step drill bit to 9/16. And now the new blade slides on, leaving just this last one to finish up. All right. I bent this one just a tad to straighten that out. Again, filed off all of the burrs that I could find. So this last one, first part that we put on is a final spacer. And then we got to line up the last blade and the final hole. We just rotate that. Drop in our retaining bolt. And as soon as we get the nut on there, which I seem to have miraculously lost, because of course I would. Wait, here it is. Okay. Those seem to be rotating about as much as I would expect them to. Okay, last item is putting together the blades. Now I do have some nicks that I'm just not going to be able to address, and I can't get these blades. But I did take a diamond hone and try and clean this up a bit. Now, it's been a while since I put these, took this apart, but I believe that these sit above and not down flat like this. I'll double check that as I put this all back together. So, bolt comes up from underneath. And one thing, I want to add some thread locker to these. Right. Tighten these back up on both sides, and then we'll reinstall. All right, putting this back on, the last item here. There are two big washers that I just slid over the top of the shaft. Now we just need to line up the key with the shaft and the flywheel. All right, that took a little bit to push on, but now that it's in place, just check to make sure that it can spin. So it's going to spin in this direction. So going back to, did I put the blades on right? Here's the worn side. There's the side that's cutting, and it's going to be rotating in this direction. So the blades are on the way that I anticipated putting those on and aligning up. So now we have a single bolt that threads through to the shaft as a retaining bolt. So now I want to get something and lock this in place so that I can apply more torque to that bolt. Now, very important, before I finish, back inside here, there are 2 bolts that need to be tightened as well. All right, all that's left is to put the access door back on and give it a test. Gotta find a nut. Took me a minute, but I found my spare nut. And we're done. We're ready to test. All right, let's see if this will start. Turn it on. Put on the gas. Put on the choke. Put it to fast. All right, it runs and it's not throwing itself to pieces, shaking apart. We're good for the next part. I don't have any wood that needs chipped up, but I do have some giant sunflower stalks. So that'll be our test. And we'll see how it does. We'll chip some down in the bottom chipper and then feed the rest through the top. Well, I think that was a very successful test. We have completed the repair on the chipper. Now, remember to ask questions and try things. Have a good one, everybody.